Another key injury to the top six may force John Hynes to put Danila Yurov higher in the lineup than he's comfortable. So is he going to trust him, or is he going to give him an early hook?
Hey, this is Matt Boldy, and you're listening to Locked On Wild.
Hey, this is Marcus Johansson, and you're listening to Locked On Wild.
You're Locked On Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, I'm Seth Toupal. Welcome to Locked On Wild, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Locked On Wild is your daily Minnesota Wild podcast. We thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day, and we're here for you every day of the week. We are your team each and every day. Make sure to follow us on all of your favorite podcast platforms, whether on Apple or Spotify or YouTube. We thank you for tuning in and helping Locked On Wild reach new heights every day. Today's episode of Locked On Wild is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. On today's episode of Locked On Wild, Alex Micheletti joins us as we assess the Wild through the first 20 games of the season. We'll start by looking at what has changed from last year to this year. We'll also take a look at the continued injury situation for the Minnesota Wild and why it has finally forced John Hynes' hand. Danila Yurov looks to be in the top six. Will he stay there? We'll also take a look at first quarter surprises. Some names you know, some names we have come to know who has surprised us through the first 20 games of the season. My name is Seth Toupal, credentialed media member, giving you access from the press box from every possible angle this season, and joined by Alex Micheletti for a Micheletti Tuesday. We float it. We float it during the season, and we have no days off limits, but because the Wild have been on the break for the last few days, we still get a chance to assess the quarter poll, Alex. And if we look at last year compared to this year, pretty much the same that we've come to expect. It's a team that has been buoyed by Kirill Kaprizov scoring, Matt Boldy scoring, by defense and goaltending. And it's a team that very much still is struggling to find 5-on-5 scoring. They're taking whatever they can get. So I'll ask you this. Is there really much difference between last year and this year so far?
Not at all. And how about Matt Boldy? He's the one that's really stepped up to he really wants to be that superstar player, and it's awesome to see. And Marcus Johansson has come alive. It's crazy, right? That is helping when they acquired a guy like Vlad Tarasenko that hasn't really done much, and he was supposed to be the one to help the offense, but it's been Marcus Johansson. So that's interesting. And then we'll see where Zeev takes off here. And they've added some youth there, like you said, with Yurov, and the goaltending's been a lot better, right? And Jesper, it's incredible, what a little confidence does for your game. Because just think a year ago, what happened with him, and stuck in Iowa being miserable, and now he's with the big club. But for the most part, it's the same, but a few wrinkles. For sure.
Yeah, and I should say the biggest difference between last year and this year was the start. Last year at this point, the Wild were 13-3-4. This year, a disastrous start. Absolutely abysmal defense, bad goaltending. Penalty kill was just non-existent. Power play was the only way the goals are being scored. The team has started to win some games, but it's the same problems that persist from last year. And now, as we'll talk about in segment 2, the injuries are starting to mount, and you had a book's worth of injury receipts that popped up at practice today that are concerning because of the way that they're being phrased and handled, which is exactly how they were handled last year. And we saw a glimpse. We saw a glimpse of the team at full strength, at pretty much full capacity in the early part of the season when they got off to that 18-4-4 start. But I think we all kind of were wondering, like, is it really responsible to bank on that happening again from an injury standpoint? Because the injuries are mounting. The 5-on-5 scoring really was not majorly addressed. It is last year's team with a couple of new pieces, but by and large, the same issues just continuing to kind of rear their ugly head.
The dreaded week to week, when you hear that, it really is like, oh no, because last year when they said week to week, it seemed like guys were more month to month, and that's scary. And what, Ryan Hartman was your first line center, and now he's out. So that's scary. We'll see how Yurov does, and it's a tough matchup against the Canes, who just they recently played and got blown out, and that's going to be really interesting tomorrow too. With if Chatfield does play, after Pitlick took him out, if there's going to be retribution tomorrow, it wouldn't shock me if Foligno gets into a brawl with somebody. So that's going to be one to watch out for.
Well, we know Pitlick is playing, like just because of the current state of affairs for this team. But we're getting a look under the hood at this point in the season at the quarter pole. We're getting a look under the hood at most of the same problems that have persisted over the last couple of years. And we'll break the injuries down in full detail coming up after the break. But I just kind of want to make the point too, is like, your biggest ads in the offseason, biggest ad was Nico Sturm. Your hope that some of these young prospects are going to be able to step in and help. You also added Vladimir Tarasenko. So I know there are, he's got an army of defenders. So I don't want to set anybody off. You did get Vladimir Tarasenko as well, but depth again, like you got AHL level guys who should be playing at the AHL level, but are again playing meaningful minutes at the NHL level, and it's not helping out at all. So it's the same pumpkin. You just left it out on the front steps through the winter and hoped, it'll thaw out and it'll be just fine. No, it's continuing to rot.
It's a big problem, and we keep hearing that Bill Guerin is scouring the league for trade opportunities, but is he really? I've
been told the Wild are in advanced talks on several fronts as far as trades go.
From random.
That's not accurate.
Yeah, chat bots.
It's not accurate. I'm sure discussions have been had, but like, problem you're running into right now is it's frankly too early for teams to be tapped out unless you are the Calgary Flames or the St. Louis Blues.
The funny thing about all this is, Robertson in Toronto, they can't even move him now because they have so many injuries on their team, and he's having to play a lot, it's just funny how that works too.
Yeah. So it's, the thing that I have noticed most through the first 20 games of the season this year is I think the frustration from fans. Like, we were told all off season leading up to the start of the year that this was the year, that this was going to be, you're going to rip the Band-Aid off. No more dead cap. We can take the words dead cap, write them on a piece of paper and light it on fire and never have to talk about it again. July 1st is going to be Christmas. I am sitting here as somebody who talks for a living, and understands the importance of what you say and outwardly project, I continue to just beg for those types of statements to not be said. Like, it didn't have to say Christmas in July. Didn't have to say that at all. But it had kind of a fun, catchy ring to it. And then it turns out nobody wanted to leave where they were staying, and all of your plan A's didn't end up becoming free agents. But we said Christmas in July. We also told Jesper Wallstedt we were going to have a 3-goalie rotation and that he should get an apartment in St. Paul. And that lasted 2 games, and then he got sent down to Iowa.
Nightmare. And not much has changed with the buyouts being done, right?
Yeah.
And we also keep hearing that, hey, they have all this room to make a massive move in season. We'll see if that even occurs.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm kind of wondering myself if Billy's going to get sticker shock at the prices for deadline deals and is going to say, we'll make a tweak. We'll make a subtle tweak. And
because even if you bring in Artemi Panarin, look how much he wants for his new contract. There's no way they're going to be able to afford to keep him.
There are reports that Alex Tuck wants $12 million a year on his new deal.
Not a chance here.
Which is frightening levels of money, but it is a byproduct of Kirill Kaprizov setting the market.
Mm-hmm.
Kirill Kaprizov wasn't waiting for the rest of the NHL to set his market. He set the market himself. That's how that played out.
It's what Theophanis does. He gets the big bag for sure.
And not to talk out of both sides of my mouth, because I still maintain that it's far better to have him than it is to not. But Bill Guerin has talked quite a bit about I'm not afraid to make moves. I'm not afraid to make a major shakeup. And Jesse Pierce and I challenged that very notion by saying, okay, if you are not afraid to make a move, go make one then. So I think that's kind of where we're at through the first 20 is the start was terrible, which always raises the concern levels, especially at the start of the season. But it's played out pretty much how you would expect. The defense was bad to start. The defense is righted. The goaltending was leaky to start. The goaltending is righted. And the 5-on-5 scoring is still a struggle.
You nailed it. And what kind of big move would really get this fan base energized? Or what would cause it even more craziness? Could you imagine they trade the captain? How much that would just that would be. And Jonas Brodin is so beloved too.
Yeah.
Either one of those,
seismic.
That would be just a gigantic change. Would you have Brock Faber be the captain then? Yeah, it's all sorts of just things you think about if that's the massive move that they're thinking.
But that's a corner that Bill Guerin painted himself into, which is something that we'll talk about probably later this week, since the Wild play Wednesday, then Friday, Saturday. Schedule, again, just super weird so far to start the season.
Mm-hmm.
So 20 games in, really not any difference from what we've seen over the last couple of years, other than the start was an opposite of what we saw last year. Now, there have been some surprises, and we'll talk about some pleasant surprises to start the year at the end of the show, but I think we need to next dive into the I was wondering if Russo was working on a book when he tweeted out the injury situation from practice today. It's messy, and it continues to be one of the things that frustrates me most about not only the team and the reporting, but just the NHL in general. Because this isn't just a Minnesota Wild thing. This is an NHL problem at large. So we'll talk about the injury situation and how the Wild will mitigate it as we continue today's episode of Locked On Wild after this. Today's episode of Locked On Wild is brought to you by FanDuel. Folks, the NBA is back, and there is no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. I've got a call for you if you're looking for a good spot for your first $5 bet to go. I like for the NHL to go with anytime goal scorers. You know, it's kind of hard to do the spread and the over-under in hockey. Not as easy as football or basketball. But anytime goal scorer is a great place to start. Matt Boldy is off to a great start this year, and I'm feeling a Matt Boldy anytime goal for the game against Carolina. So $5 bet right there. If he does score, then that's $300 in bonus bets because FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So Matt Boldy, anytime goal, $300 in bonus bets could be yours if he scores. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back to today's edition of Locked On Wild. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. We are your team every day. And we also thank you wholeheartedly for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Think about that. #1 sports podcast network is Locked On, is the entire Locked On podcast network. Alex, injuries are the bane of my existence because the NHL refuses any semblance of common sense reporting on injuries. It's not even close. It's not even close to where it should be as far as reporting goes because, and you hit it right on the head in segment 1. We saw this last year. Remember vividly Kirill Kaprizov. He's a little banged up after Thanksgiving, or it was after Christmas, I believe. A little banged up. We're going to hold him out for a couple of days. No, actually, it was after Thanksgiving. So we're going to hold him out for a couple of days. And a couple of days turned into, well, he's day-to-day. He missed 12 games and then had surgery. And that is just one of 1,000 examples that we've seen from this team lately. Marco Rossi, we knew that he was injured. It was something that he was trying to play through. So if anyone is looking for a reason as to why Rossi's numbers were starting to dip, it's because he was playing through injury. He is now week to week, but as Russo noted today, he was starting to feel better. So who knows on that? Like, I have no idea what that means. So who knows? Maybe he'll be back in the lineup tomorrow.
Read the part about Tarasenko too. That whatever that he said in that tweet made no sense.
Yeah, the Tarasenko situation is frankly kind of baffling as well. And then we have the Ryan Hartman situation, in which Ryan Hartman is now going to be week to week with an injury that is, quote, not major, but it just needs to clear up. So here's the full tweet. Russo said Hartman is week to week, but this isn't a major injury, just needs to clear up. Tarasenko left practice early, so Hynes has to get an update on his status. Bogosian and Sturm are still a few weeks or a little less out. Rossi is feeling a little better, so we'll see how quickly he can get back. But Rossi, because of the roster situation, was put on injured reserve, so Rossi has to miss a minimum number of games in order for that designation to ring true. And the Tarasenko thing, I have no idea when that popped up, but Tarasenko has missed the last couple of games. He tried to kind of practice through it and couldn't. He's not going to play against the Carolina Hurricanes. Am I taking crazy pills here, or what is happening all of a sudden to this team that seems to happen every single season?
And guys getting hurt in practice too. That is not good. What are practices going too hard? It's and it's the guys that are getting hurt too have had injuries in consecutive seasons. It's not good at all.
Hartman, his is a lower. Vladimir Tarasenko missed the last game. Hartman's was a lower body. He came back into the game briefly, or at least came back onto the bench and then left again. But the designation of it's not major, it just needs to clear up. It is, and this is, again, this is not necessarily just a Wild frustration. Every team in the NHL does this. And it's just so vague because it's the gamesmanship. It's so vague in the reporting that you can literally say a guy's day to day and you might not see him the rest of the year.
Right. And for a team that's lacking depth, that's never a good thing at all. And you look at Iowa, and there's not a whole lot that can help out when it comes to the Wild's injury situations.
Yeah, the lineup is as follows. So you've got Kaprizov centered by Danila Yurov with Matt Zuccarello on the top line. We'll talk about Danila in a second. Marcus Johansson, Joel Eriksson Ek, Matt Boldy. Your bottom six is as follows. Marcus Foligno, Yakov Trenyan at center. Vinny Hinostroza on the wing. Liam Ogren, Ben Jones, Tyler Pitlick. That is...
Yikes.
That is John Hynes' dream, but that is my nightmare.
And they're, other than the other night when Trennan scored, I mean, the bottom six had been non-existent.
Yeah. I don't understand. I don't understand the fascination and intrigue with Ben Jones. And so this is where the mood microphone comes into play, because this is the kind of stuff that kind of starts to set me off a little bit.
It looks like the eye of Sauron.
Yeah, it pretty much is. I don't understand the fascination with the guy who has no points in 35 career games. We did the breakdown a couple of weeks ago, a week ago. Statistically, he is worse than Danila Yurov. He should be an AHL player. Tyler Pitlick should be an AHL player, but because of this current situation with the injuries, which is playing out the way that it has for each of the last 3 seasons, you're just continuing to hope. Oh, I hope the injuries aren't as bad as last year. I'm guilty of this 1,000%. I said this, in fact, after the season was done. There's no possible way this team can be as injured as they were last year, right? And here we are again. You're playing AHL guys in bottom 6 roles and just hoping that maybe they luck their way into a goal.
It's not a long-term success idea, right? And look at all the teams in the Central Division. A lot of them are sick of losing, and you see Utah having a lot more success. Chicago, they just don't lose now, and Bedard's turning into that superstar role, and got other teams not in the division but in the West. Look at San Jose. Celebrini's got 2 tonight against Utah. Anaheim, I don't know why they didn't play Dostal the other night against the Wild, but Mrazek somehow kept him in it. But Dostal's on fire. So you have all these younger teams, and the Wild just kind of think they can just get by here. It's that's not a good strategy.
And this leads to, I think, what is the most intriguing part of Wednesday's game. and this is a question that I want fans to answer in the comments for today's episode. Do you think John Hynes is going to trust Danila Yurov in a top-line role? Or do you think we're going to see him get like 7 or 8 minutes? And then you're just going to say, all right, for this game, we're going to play Kaprizov 33 minutes. We're going to play Matt Boldy 34 minutes. So help me, if Yakov Trenyan ends up with more faceoffs than Danila Yurov, I'm going to be comatose after the game's done.
It would mean that they're down by like 2 or 3 goals, but and they can't. If he makes one mistake, they can't just say, "Oh, we're switching lines mid-game and banishing him back to the 4th line," because give him a real shot here to prove that he can do it. Because if you envision him to be in that type of role in the future, you have to just give him an opportunity now.
Yeah, this is what we have all been waiting for. And it just feels like, well, I can't really trust a rookie in this situation because he might make a mistake. And so I got to go with the sure thing. Well, guess what? The sure thing's not great. It's the sure thing is not good. The risk could be great.
100%. And, maybe that's something Hynes can, in the past, it's burned him. So why not do things the opposite way? And, if he wants to continue a long-term future as coach here.
Yeah, it has to change, because this roster, as currently constructed, without the breath of life put into them, it's not capable. It's not capable of beating any of the legit contenders, because they haven't done it for 3 years. It's not just going to change. Like, you're banking essentially on the other teams all of a sudden getting bad, and you could have a far easier time simply trying to improve your roster, get yourself to the good category, as opposed to just saying, maybe when we play Colorado today, maybe they'll be bad. Like, that's just not a good mentality to have in any game situation. But
not at all.
We've beleaguered that point, I think, to the point that the message is clear. I do want to finish by taking a look at some of the pleasant surprises from the start of the season so far, because there have actually been some, and there have been some fun points and players to watch through the first quarter of the season. So we will talk about that to finish today's episode of Locked On Wild after this. Today's episode of Locked On Wild is brought to you by Rougiet. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress, I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. When it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where Rougiet comes in. Rougiet.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED, designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiet makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. No awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. And if prescribed, your treatment ships directly and discreetly to your door. Visit rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL to get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNHL so they know we sent you. Rougiet. Stop making excuses and start making moves. Final segment of Locked On Wild. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. We are the People's Podcast, covering the People's team, the Minnesota Wild, and we're glad to have you along, however you are tuning in here today. Let's talk some surprises, Alex, because there have actually been a few surprises to start the season. It's not all despondent hideous, just mind-numbing play. Some of it is. But I want to start with Matt Boldy for one. 21 points in 20 games. He's got 10 goals on the season. He has some of the highest shot volume in the league so far this year. And he is leading the team in shot attempts per 60 minutes. He is one of your top options as far as shots on goal goes. He's crashing to the net. He looks more assertive. Matt Boldy is probably, he may not be the biggest surprise this year, but if you were asking Boldy to take a leap to start the season, it feels like he certainly has.
The series, the playoff series against Vegas, that's where he just became a different player. And we did see it in the Four Nations too. It was nice to see him be productive there. But the playoff series said, this is my time to be, an up and coming superstar, and it's just taken off at the beginning here. He's firing the puck with urgency. Some of the goals that he's scored have just been phenomenal, and been great on the power play. It's really nice to see him turn into that kind of power forward and with the shooter mentality.
I have to give credit where credit is due. Marcus Johansson has been a very pleasant surprise so far this year, but I think the play that Marcus Johansson is exhibiting right now further underscores the overall problem with the roster. Is you have a guy who is making basically league minimum and is your third leading scorer and is put in a top six role out of necessity, I would argue. And the fact that he has produced so far this year makes the last couple of seasons that much more frustrating. It also makes the roster situation that much more frustrating. But 7 goals through the first 20 games for Johansson. I'm willing to give him credit for how he has performed so far this year, because in a year so far in which players have really kind of risen above the water and have sank below it, it seems like he has been one of the few players that has consistently been above water so far this year.
And they have needed, right? To even get some of the wins that they have had. And kudos to him. And they're going to need it for the full season, right? They can't just have it be just this first quarter and then silent and go back to what it has been in the past. So definitely kudos for him for stepping up.
But on the problem side, those 3 have scored 28 of your 55 goals in the season. That's bad.
Right.
That is unconscionably bad. Right.
And that they're going to have to figure that out fast. But now I have the injury, so more adversity coming, and like I said, there'll be the litmus test against one of the best teams out of the East, against the Canes. Another late game, national TV. So we'll see how that goes under the bright lights of national TV coverage.
Yeah, get your nap in. I certainly will. As far as the youngsters go, I'll put Zeev and Jesper and Yurov in the surprise category, pleasant surprise. We've seen flashes from Zeev, and it seems like they're getting more consistent.
He even got in an overtime for a bit the other
night. For the first time.
I couldn't believe it.
Hynes, out of absolute necessity, I just imagine how panicked he was. He's like, oh my gosh, I have to put Zeev Buium in overtime. Where's Zach Bogosian when you need him? Where's Jared Spurgeon when you need him? Where's Jonas Brodin when you need him? We've seen the flashes, it seems like, are getting more and more consistent with Zeev as the season goes on, as he gets acclimated. As far as Danila Yurov goes, I still maintain I think his defense is ready to go game 1. And we've seen some good push from him offensively. It's just a matter of getting more and more minutes, more and more reps for him to get fully comfortable. Jesper has been the biggest rookie surprise of all. Like
Awesome.
he has looked great so far this season.
The celebrations after the wins are
Mhm.
just love the vibes from that little flurry and him doing that. And yeah, getting shutouts in the NHL is it's so hard, and good for him to get a couple here. And really, as a backup, especially with this condensed schedule, you're going to be getting a lot of the back end of back-to-backs, and so kudos for him to playing well, and sometimes in front of a tired D-core. So yeah, he's gaining confidence every game he plays, and you hear the noise of maybe a more of a 1A 1B instead of just your normal backup. So yeah, credit to Jesper.
I believe I may have started that chatter this year, right on this very show. But
Yes.
yeah, we're 20 games in, and the Minnesota Wild are 9-11, not 9-7-4. They're all losses. The 4 overtime losses just took a little longer than the other 7. So 9-11 through the first 20 games. The Wild have a lot of work to do to get themselves back to where they want to be, but they're not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to get further than they want to go, as far as we want them to go, unless they finally take a long look in the mirror at that top 6 scoring situation. We've been talking about it for years, Alex. We've been talking about this for years on this show, and we're not gonna. I'm tired of running from it. I'm tired of the fill-ins as opposed to the fixtures. And so if we've learned anything from the first 20 games of the season, it's that is a gaping wound that you can no longer try to gauze and bandage. You have to stitch that thing up. You have to cauterize that wound. And the only way that Bill Guerin is going to do that is if he has what it takes to make a deal.
The supposed big move.
So I'll end this show the exact same way Jesse Pierce and I did her segment from last week. Go ahead, Billy. We dare ya. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Wild. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. We thank you for making us part of your listening plans on all of your favorite platforms. Make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to leave us a review on Apple, Spotify, or any of the other platforms, we certainly appreciate those as well. Any 5 stars will get read on the show. So if you want a shout out on the show, leave us a 5-star review. It helps with circulation. It helps get Locked On Wild out there to more Minnesota Wild fans like you. So we'll catch you on the next episode right here on Locked On Wild, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.